home, play for the city. My situation came up, and I was happy with it.
George! Paul George just won this game.
At that time, we didn't know where he was going. Just told him, giving you everything.
The Toronto Raptors are NBA champions.
You know, decide from there.
As for Kawhi Leonard, he has chosen a shorter contract with the Clippers. That lines up with new teammate Paul George and sets the two up to be part of the 2021 free agent class, a source confirmed to ESPN. Leonard signed a 3-year, $103.1 million deal that includes a player option for the 2021-22 season. The Athletic, the first to report it. Brian Windhorst here to break down the Kawhi contract. And Wendy, how are people around the league reacting to the fact that
like this is now what executives are talking about. We were talking about 2019 for the last year. Now we're going to be talking about 2021 because of what Kawhi Leonard was able to do. This was a stunner. People in the league, they understood why the Clippers spent so much in assets to make this deal to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They were quite surprised that they only got Kawhi to commit for 2 years. And now we have a 2021 on the horizon to keep an eye on.
Wendy, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about 2021. It's 2019. We just did all of this.
I know, for sure. But, you know, Kawhi has sort of put it out there that he wants flexibility. And, yes, he will get to the 10-year mark. And, yes, financially it makes sense. But it also clears the way for him to create another super team if he wants.
All right. Earlier today on ESPN.com, a story posted that you wrote about how this was the summer of leverage. Kevin Durant was among those who used their leverage. How so?
Yeah, well, I just mentioned Kawhi using his leverage on a 2-year deal. Kevin Durant refused to go on a sign and trade to the Nets without making sure that the Warriors paid a first-round pick. He could have gone to the Nets straight up. He didn't need to do a sign and trade with the Warriors. But when he heard that he was just going to be traded for D'Angelo Russell, he said, from what sources have told me, that's not enough. You got to put something else in the deal. And so the Warriors did. They put a first-round pick in the deal as well. And that just shows you right now, if you are willing to go to the wall and use your leverage, you can drive a great bargain. We've seen it all summer long across the league.
We're kind of on watch now for the Thunder. We know they're in rebuild mode. Russell Westbrook and OKC, they seem to be motivated to find his way out of town because Paul George skipped town to play with Kawhi. What's standing in the way of a deal? Because there's a ton of smoke around Miami.
Yeah, well, the issue is really simple. The Heat, under league rules, cannot take on any more money. And the Thunder, if they're going to trade Westbrook, not only want good young pieces, but they want to move money off. And that makes an impasse between these two teams. So one of two things has got to have to happen. One, they're going to have to find a third team to take some money in this deal, and that team's going to have to be compensated, and I don't know which side would compensate. Or secondly, Oklahoma City is going to have to do Westbrook a favor and lower their ask to send him where he wants to go. And quite frankly, I don't see Sam Presti doing it. So we could have a drawn-out process here to get this type of deal done.
Wendy, I don't want to see one story about the free agency class of 2021 until the holidays, all right?
You're not going to see one, Matt. You're going to see about 1,000 for the next 2 years. How about 1,000?
Thank you, Wendy.
Spare us. Hey, imagine if one of the iconic plays in the brilliant career of Derek Jeter, the diving catch into the stands against the rival Red Sox, a play that in
his summer league cut short because he bruised his knee in his first game against the Knicks. We did get his eye on highlight with that give it to me strip and dunk. Now, the team said Zion's injury isn't a concern. However, there is a little worry over Zion's conditioning and weight.
He came to us, he wasn't in great condition, and from a cardio perspective, it wasn't a great situation to begin with. So when he took that shot, really it was just from my standpoint, it was more caution than anything else to shut him down at that point because there's no reason to push him when he was in the situation he was in.
My concern isn't about his game. My concern is about his body. I mean, you can't improve unless you're in shape. And he is not in shape, whatever he is, whatever his weight is. All right, it's significantly overweight.
Something to keep an eye on. So certainly varying degrees of concern of what the shape of Zion stays in this summer while he gets into shape. What does PTI think with Tony and Stephen A. Smith?
All right, Stephen A. Should the Pelicans be concerned about Zion Williamson's weight?
Not even a little bit. First of all, the man walked around playing college basketball at over 280 pounds. It still didn't stop him from having a 45-inch vertical leap, for crying out loud. And then you got to take into account the media tour that he had to endure en route to becoming the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and all the exposure and the interviews and the obligations, stuff like that. He's barely had any time to train. So I'm not concerned about how he looked in Vegas. He was probably eating some burgers prior to the Summer League games. It's what happens in October. That weight will not be an issue come October, in my opinion.
So he's 20 years old. When you're 20 years old, you can take off 20 pounds in an hour and a half.
That's true.
You know, when he goes to camp, he's going to look great. What I would be concerned with, and I think what you would be concerned with, is the ferocity with which he jumps and lands. Can his body, all of those things that draw our eyes to him at all times are the things that may undo him as a basketball player in terms of length of career. Do you share that
I do.
fear?
I completely share it, and I've articulated that on several occasions. I don't like the way he comes down when he elevates, particularly for dunks, obviously. He comes down with the same level of ferocity he attacks the basket with. And I don't think he has any regard of it because he's
a kid.
He's a kid. But he needs to be, because that's a lot of weight to bring down in your legs the way that he does. I'm just concerned about it.
All right. That's it. We're done. Back to you. I stole his line. Now we need to linger, Stephen.
That's
linger.
It. We're done. Back to you. Does that work?
Yeah.
Stephen A. on a half-hour show is fantastic, especially Pardon the Interruption. Weekdays, 5:30 Eastern, right here on ESPN.
Still to come on this edition of SportsCenter. New reaction to one more stunner from the NBA's mega movement and free agency. Kawhi Leonard's contract decision and the impact on the league's future. Also, the Russell Westbrook trade watch continues. Brian Windhorst standing by with the factors that could be affecting potential